Hey everybody, Dave here in Freedom Investing. In today's video, we're going to go over Graham Stephan's video that he did on Fundrise, where he pretty much just said the truth about Fundrise, real estate investing, and pretty much torched it and told 340,000 people to not invest in them, or why he's not investing in them. So let's go into a response to his 5 reasons why he wouldn't invest in Fundrise. Let's get started. So his first reason is lack of liquidity. Now, I don't disagree with this one. Fundrise is a long-term investment. They say pretty much everywhere it's a 5-year investment minimum. And don't put money in there that you need for a down payment on a house in the next couple years. Don't put your emergency fund in Fundrise, all right? Don't stick money in there that you need to pay the mailman or you need to pay your rent with, okay? And I don't know who needs to pay the mailman, but the milkman. All right, so don't put money in there that you need in the next 5 years, all right? And with that said, recently they did a video saying that they suspended redemption. So even if you get your money out before 5 years, could even be an issue, all right? It's the sole discretion of Fundrise. It's meant to be a long-term investment. So that 5 years is pretty much solidified, and as of recently, because of the pandemic, they have even suspended the redemptions, and that's for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it's because people are probably trying to request redemptions, getting their money back because they got scared, right? So they said before the pandemic even started happening, because we're in a 10-year bull market, they said that they may even have to suspend redemptions. Now, it just so happened that we had a pandemic very shortly right after they said that, and then yes, they suspended the redemptions. So, and like I said, there's 2 reasons they did that. People were, number one, fearing to try to get their money out, can cause disruption to all the other investors that are invested into Fundrise, and that's an issue. I don't want a bunch of people getting scared trying to pull their money out and screwing up my investments, right? So think about it. If they have 300 projects or something like that, they need to liquefy liquidity, right? Liquefy those projects to get that money to pay off those redemptions, right? So that's an issue that would concern me. So the lack of liquidity, I agree with Graham Stephan on that. But at the same time, rental real estate is what he promotes, is not liquid really either. Yes, you can sell the house anytime you want. On a down market, good luck trying to sell it, at a profit, unless you're, deep into that house for the last 10 or 20 years. You might have to take a loss in that house, right? So, houses don't sell very well. Like 2009 through 2012, there's a lot of foreclosures. It was not a seller's market at all. It was a buyer's market, right? So, if you had a house and you're trying to get profit out of it, you probably couldn't have got out of it very easy. But so lack of liquidity makes sense to me on his argument there, but rental property, really not much better, but you're in control whether or not you can get rid of that property. So I agree with that. Having your own rental properties, you're pretty much, I want to get rid of the property in 2019, you can sell it, right? So when it comes to that argument, I do agree with him a little bit. Rental property is a little bit more liquid than Fundrise is. Now, Fundrise is one of those platforms where you're just going to try to request it back, and they're going to do their best to give you your money back, over a certain amount of period of time. Now, before the pandemic happened, that time could have been spanned out over a couple of years to get all your money back. And it's not that they're trying to keep your money or anything like that. It's just you got to think about it. They have a lot of projects that your money's invested in, right? And if they don't have cash just laying around, and why would they? Because that money that's just sitting around is not money they're making money on, all right? If you want something that is liquid, then invest in REITs, all right? Invest in like a VNQ, a Vanguard VNQ, all right? Now we'll touch on VNQ here in a minute. So now I don't disagree with them on that one, the lack of liquidity, but at the same time, it is what it is. So we'll give them a point for that one. So just know what you're getting in with Fundrise. It's a longer term investment. So his second argument is on annual fees, and I don't kind of agree with it 100% on this one. So let's log in and take a look here. So he talks about annual fees as one of his second argument, and he just thinks that the annual fees with Fundrise are just too high, anywhere ranging from 1 to 3% or something like that. I think is what he talked about. And now, granted, I mean, that could be in the background. You don't really see that. You know, an origination fee is something I even mentioned. Now, even with that said, if you look at the performance I had for 2019, I got an 8.2% return for 2019. That's pretty good. For 2020, we're already up 2%, all right? So that's pretty good. That's minus the annual fees, so that's after all the annual fees came out. These advisory fees here are slightly different. They're included in there. There's other fees that come out besides those advisory fees. The advisory fees are really just for the management of, you know, the website and the whole platform in general. Now they do have other fees for the projects themselves, and maybe that's where the origination fees coming in. But now I've only paid $12.84 in advisory fees, but that is also because I've had a bunch of people sign up, and 5 people sign up, and I've got 900 days of free advisory fees. Now we'll talk about that in a minute because that is one of his other arguments as well. So, but at the same time, his big thing that he promotes is rental property. All right. What are you going to pay for a manager of that rental property? You're going to pay 10%, all right? If you have $3,000 of monthly rent coming in, that's $300 going out the window, all right? So, 1%, that's pennies, that's nothing, all right? That's nothing to me anyway. You're getting 8% out of the platform, you're paying 1% in advisory fees, and what other fees coming out, that's pretty good in my opinion. That's better than paying 10% that you're paying to your management company to manage your rental property. And we're going to talk about that in a minute here because maybe you don't have a manager and you're saving on that 10%, but you're going to deal with a lot of other issues at the same time. So I don't agree with him on that one. I'm getting 8% out of this particular platform. That's minus all the annual fees and advisory fees and all that. So the third argument he has is on dividend taxation. Unqualified is what we're talking about here. Now he doesn't really break down unqualified and qualified dividends. It really doesn't make a difference for his argument sake because what we're investing in is all unqualified dividends. At the same time, if you invest in any REIT, those are all unqualified dividends. That means they're taxed at your ordinary tax rate. So if you have a lot of income, you could be paying, 30% and upwards of 40%. So qualified dividends, you could pay up as 20% if you have high income, and most likely you're going to be paying about 15% on your qualified dividends, which are usually dividend paying stocks. Now, almost REITs are all going to be unqualified dividends, and that's the same with Fundrise. All of those REITs that you're invested in are all unqualified dividends. You're going to be paying whatever ordinary tax rate you're going to be paying. So that's one of his arguments is you're going to get more benefits by investing into physical real estate. Now I don't disagree with that, but there is some caveats to that. So he's talking about they can depreciate the property and you can write that off against your income. And I've owned rental property. I owned 2 rental properties for a better part of 10 years, all right? Now I know exactly what he's talking about when it comes to depreciation, but there's a big caveat to that as well, okay? He's talking about, that the returns on Fundrise, the 10, I think he even said 12%. I haven't seen 12% on the platform. Platform average is roughly about 9%. I got a little bit less than 9%, and I wasn't invested quite a bit at the time. But even 8%, that's pretty good. Think about what you were getting out of a physical real estate, depending on which market you're in, which part of the United States you're in. You might not even get 10% out of that rental property, all right? You have to hold on for it for a long time. Maybe it appreciates 10%, maybe it doesn't. It just depends on which part of the market you're invested in. Where he's investing in Los Angeles, that's a very high appreciation area, so I kind of get where he's coming from that point of view. But there is no long-term strategy to get rid of those rental properties. And he's talking about, I get to save on taxes here and there. I get to depreciate the property. I'm making a crap load of money on returns. It's appreciating 10%, higher, or maybe even higher than that. But he's not talking about all the fees and stuff that you have to pay when you sell those properties. Think about it. I just sold 2 properties. I sold one in 2018. I sold one in 2019. I paid 6% in commissions to sell that property. Okay, I paid 15% in capital gains, long-term capital gains, all right? And on top of that, I had to pay 25% of the depreciation. Okay, when you depreciate a property over 10 years, that's a lot of money or depreciation. I think mine was over $75,000. You have to pay back 25% of that. So in the long term, you know, yes, he's saving on his taxes right now by depreciating the property and writing off a bunch of expenses, business expenses and all that. But unless you have a long-term strategy in rental property, you know, and you pretty much take those things to the grave and have a U-Haul fall in your hearse, then guess what? You are gonna take it up the yin-yang when you sell your rental properties by paying that 6% commission, that 25% depreciation recapture, and 15% in long-term capital gains on whatever capital gains you had. So there is no long-term strategy to get out. Yes, you can 1031 exchange it for another property, but like I said, unless you take it to the grave, you're gonna have to get out of it somehow. Now there is a strategy. You could move into the property, live in it for 2 years, and then go on to your next property, live in it for 2 years, you know, liquefy the property, get rid of it, go to the next property, live in it for 2 years, and then get out of the property and pay no capital gains on the property. I think you have to pay depreciation still, recapture still, and unless you're, you know, a real estate agent like he is, you know, you're probably gonna still pay that 6% commission. So there is a slight benefit, but the long-term benefit, in my opinion, at least with Fundrise, you're paying the taxes as you go. And unless you have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars into Fundrise, it's not that much money you're gonna be paying in taxes every year, all right? And that's, you know, if you have, you know, a couple $1,000s of income, you're gonna pay a percentage of that. You're gonna pay, you know, you're gonna pay state and you're gonna pay federal income tax on it. But, you know, you pay it as you go versus with a rental property, you're gonna pay it at the end, okay? Unless you take it to the grave. So if you're enjoying my content, go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. So what's his fourth argument? His fourth argument is sustainability. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this one. He's talking about that they can't sustain the growth and, you know, you're not gonna be able to get that 8 to 12% out every single year. Of course, I agree from that point of view, but so is the same thing with his rental properties or any other property they're gonna buy across the United States. It's gonna be the same thing. If Fundrise slows down, then so all those other properties. Why is Fundrise gonna be unique where all of a sudden they slow down, but nobody else does? So that argument doesn't hold water at all. I don't see where he's coming from that point of view at all. Like, yeah, maybe he lives in an area where rental property doesn't get hit very much, and that's, like I said, that's gonna be on somebody that buys a rental property and where you buy. You buy in New York, you buy in Chicago, you buy in Denver here, you buy in, you know, San Diego, you buy in Bay Area, the Seattle, all those hot areas, then those areas might not get hit as much. So yes, Fundrise doesn't do anything specific, you know, in my opinion, than what he's doing. I mean, the difference is Fundrise invested in a lot of different properties. They're invested in commercial real estate. They're invested in single family houses. They're invested in multi-family units. They're invested in commercial rental property. They're invested in fix and flips. They're invested in, you know, build retail property built up from scratch. So there's a wide diversification when it comes to Fundrise. You really can't get that with what he's doing at all. He's got a couple of rental properties. That's in residential property on the real estate side. In Fundrise, I got over 150 projects I'm invested in. You know, that's across a whole spectrum of properties, not just residential. Where else could you get that? You could get that in the Vanguard VNQ, all right? Invested in a bunch of different REITs in a bunch of different industries, all right? So in my opinion, you know, his number 4 argument, sustainability, it doesn't really matter in my opinion, because if Fundrise is gonna slow down, that means probably everything else is gonna slow down as well. And in general, I think Fundrise would do better than what he's invested in, because he's just invested in one thing, and that's residential real estate. Now in his video, he does talk about investing in the S&P 500, and Fundrise is not a replacement for investing in the S&P 500, all right? So we're talking about an apples to apples comparison here, Fundrise versus his rental property, okay? So the S&P 500 should be a core investment for everybody in general if you're not gonna invest in single stocks or something like that, and Fundrise should be a supplement to that, okay? So we're not talking about putting all of your eggs in one basket into Fundrise, all right? So his fifth argument is wary of positive reviews, all right? So what he's talking about is, I've had people sign up through my link here. So if we go to Invest a Friend here, what he's talking about is, you know, all the videos I've done in Fundrise, I've done a lot of them, and I'm pretty much promoting Fundrise so I can get these 5 people that accept it, okay? And that's over like the last year and a half or year or so I've been doing these videos. I got those 5 people to sign up. Now they're getting something out of the platform. They're getting 90 days of free advisory fees, okay? Now I get 180 days every time somebody signs up. But what he's talking about is he thinks that I'm pretty much going in there and saying, okay, you got to invest with Fundrise, you know, just so I can get this, you know, free advisory fees for 180 days. Now, I mean, that's just a bad, weak argument in my opinion, because it doesn't really save me that much money. You know, it's probably been, you know, maybe it saved me 20 bucks a year or something. That's, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna, 20 bucks, I mean, that's nothing, you know what I mean? So my argument is when I sold a house last year, you know, after I got done selling, I paid them 6% commissions, over $20-something thousand I paid them commissions. Then they sent me this email. Dear David, we thank you for the opportunity to serve and assist you through the transaction of your home. Now that the hard work is done, it's time for the fun part. We will give you a $10 gift card for each 5-star review completed for up to $30. And then they gave me a link, and I've kind of redacted some of the information so you don't know exactly who it is. But for Zillow, doing a review there, Realtor.com, doing a review there, and Facebook page, doing a review there. So that's, you know, 30 bucks. I paid them $20,000 in commissions, and they're gonna give me $30, and I didn't really do it just because I didn't want to have my name out there. But $30 to give 5-star reviews, you know, not even saying, hey, we'll give you $30 if you just do a review. No, it has to be a 5-star review, all right? So why do I bring this up? I bring this up because Graham Stephan is a real estate agent, all right? Now, do you think that he's done anything like that? Do you think that he's paid for any reviews? I don't know if he works on his own, has his own real estate agent. Maybe he's not even a real estate agent anymore at this point. I'm pretty sure he is, just because he gets a discount on his rental properties for the managing of all those, you know, being an active participant. But at the same time, you know, has he had any reviews to get him more commissions, right? He lives in one of the most expensive, you know, prestigious areas in the United States. And you go there and you sell, you know, a couple $1 million house. That's a lot of money he's making. Can you imagine having 5-star reviews, being a real estate agent in that area? Do you think that he's done that? I don't know if he has or not. But here's a real estate agent right here. When I sold a house, that sent me, so they're doing it. So, you know, I'm saving $20 in Fundrise advisory fees, and I'm being honest and transparent on all my videos about Fundrise. And, you know, I'm pretty much telling you, hey, it's a long-term investment. I'm telling you about the redemption suspension. I'm telling you that's a long-term investment. I think I already mentioned that. I'm telling you I got, you know, 8% return out of it. I'm telling you what the advisory fees are. I'm telling you all the negative things. I'm not making anybody sign up through my link, all right? And at the same time, if somebody's gonna sign up, you know, for Fundrise, they might as well get something for free for it, all right? And that's 90 days of free advisory fees, okay? In this case here, yes, I'm getting $30 back, which is nothing for a 5-star review, 3 different platforms, when I paid them over $20,000 in commissions. So Graham Stephan did that video 2 years ago, all right? And he's reached over 360,000 people. And he probably swayed, you know, I would say a vast majority of those people from investing in Fundrise, and he's never even invested in Fundrise, all right? And his arguments are kind of weak in my opinion. You know, I mean, I'm gonna tell you here in a minute, but, you know, think about it. If you're gonna invest in Fundrise, you're invested across a wide range of diversification. I'm talking about like residential, single family, multifamily, commercial, you know, build from scratch, you know, renovation, a lot of different industries. You can only really get that from like a VNQ ETF, all right? And the reason why you go with, say, a Fundrise is because you're gonna get a higher return out of it. And that said, you also have control. You have more control over, say, like an ETF like VNQ. All you do is you put your money in and you let it sit there and you get paid that 4.2% dividend, okay? At least with Fundrise, you can pick your investments, okay? You can pick you can't necessarily pick exact projects, but you can pick the REITs that you invest in, okay? And those REITs have certain projects that are invested in, all right? So if you want to be all on just say income, then you're going to be on the debt side. You're going to get higher dividends, okay? So you want to invest in the balance plan. You're going to be kind of equal on the equity and on the debt side. If you want to invest in, say, the growth REITs, then you're going to be mostly on the equity side. Your returns are going to be slightly higher. You're not going to get as much dividends. It's more of a longer term investment. At least with the dividends, you get paid quarterly, which is nice, just like VNQ. But you do have control. You have control over the REITs that you're invested in. So you have control. That is what I like about Fundrise compared to, say, Vanguard VNQ. Now, the downfall with Fundrise compared to the VNQ is Fundrise is a longer term investment. It's not liquid, okay? In VNQ, if you want to sell and get all your money back that day, you just put a sell order in and get your money back, okay? But you obviously take a hit on the return. So please take a moment to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. So Graham Stephan really was promoting physical real estate, residential specifically, because I don't think he invests in any commercial real estate. And like I said, I had 2 rental properties for a better part of a decade, 2 rental properties. And he's talking about having a manager recently, and look at all these different things he's talking about here. Tenant stopped paying rent. That was a month ago. Tenant trashed my property. What it looks like now. That was a day ago. Worst tenant ever. Worst tenant I ever had ever. Eviction. Avoid the nightmare tenant and eviction. My tenant just moved out. The aftermath. Look at this face here. Trash. The aftermath. Tenant stopped paying rent. My tenant horror story. Couldn't handle it. Why just hired a property manager? Okay, so I mean he's going through the same thing that everybody goes through with rental property, okay? Because I had rental property. I had a manager on one from the beginning. And the other property from the beginning, I had no manager, okay? And the funny thing is the one that had the manager was about 20 miles from my house, and that one had the most issues, okay? The house that was 1,300 miles away, I had 0 issues with no manager. Okay, and you pay them 10%, right? So he's got to, talking about here hiring a manager and all that. Well, guess what? Hiring a manager does not get rid of your issues. You're still going to have almost all the same issues. Now, granted, they do help you with some of those issues. They will help you with the eviction process. They'll help you with going to court and all that. But in general, you're paying 10% fee for that, and they're not going to fix all of the issues. It's just not totally passive. So Fundrise is passive. I put the money in there, I pick what REIT goes in, and guess what? I just get paid, all right? So he's got rental property here. That's not passive at all. That's the downfall with rental properties. Now, there is a little bit of tax advantages, like I said, but is it really worth that 10% to have a property manager when it's not gonna get rid of all the headaches? Because I had a property manager, did not get rid of all the headaches at all. Matter of fact, you're gonna get nickel and dime out of the property manager. They're gonna, throw in crappy repair parts. They're gonna, nickel and dime you by not seeing all of the damages that were done. So Graham Stephan looks like that, he's promoting physical real estate, residential real estate specifically, and then now it looks like, because that was 2 years ago that he's talking about Fundrise, that he's just running into all the issues that most people run into with residential real estate. All the exact same reasons why I got out of residential real estate to begin with. It's not passive at all, and that 10% you're paying for a property manager does not fix all your issues. Okay, maybe you get a little bit of a tax benefit from that until you sell that property, and then guess what? You're gonna take it up the yin-yang, with a 6% commission, that 15% capital gains, long-term capital gains, assuming you hold on to the property for at least a year, and you're gonna pay that depreciation recapture at 25%. So I think I pretty much tore apart every single Graham Stephan argument that he had. If you have any questions about this video, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Go ahead and reach me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Until next time, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.